Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to talk about your next assignment and your homework. So let's see. Number one, you have a quiz. Usually, it would be a quiz in the classroom. What I am going to do today is open the quiz just when I finish the lecture. I hope it's going to be a short lecture today. So the quiz is due today. So you have the full day today to complete the quiz. The quiz, 10 questions. It should be easy. And you have only one attempt. You can take the quiz only one time, and you have 30 minutes. For an activity in the classroom, could be great. You are online, so you can do it when I finish talking and when I finish with the short lecture, or you can do it later if you want to use some time to review things. The quiz is comprehensive. The main topic of the quiz, the questions, is about the diagrams, UML diagrams. I didn't mention everything, but most important things, those diagrams. We have been working with class diagram a lot, reviewing the relationships. We worked before with the use case diagram. We worked with some examples of activity and state diagram. Hopefully you remember the notation, when to use what. You would like to review include and extend, and obviously review from the class diagram, having a diagram which is the code equivalent, and the opposite, if I give you the code, which is the diagram, and particularly understand all the different connections, the arrow, the diamond, and the triangle that represent inheritance realization. If you need to review this, if you haven't done that, please, I recommend you to do that, review those topics, feel comfortable with the diagrams, then you can go and take the quiz. Again, one attempt, and you have 30 minutes, 10 questions. The questions, most of them connected with diagrams. Yeah, the quiz and the assignment are going to open when we finish the lecture, so that is correct. The quiz is due tonight. The TA is setting up things. I am going to review this when I finish the lecture with you, but again, for the record, the quiz is due tonight, today, 11:59 p.m. It's going to be open when we finish this lecture. You have the full day. Those are the topics, 10 questions, 30 minutes. Good. The quiz is multiple choice, yes. You have a diagram and several options of source code, for instance, or you have a diagram and some options regarding which could be the connection between A and B, things like that, multiple choice. Again, the TA is reviewing or setting up the class. I will take a look when the lecture finish, but again, it's going to open when we finish the lecture. It's due tonight, the quiz. That is your quiz 2. Today, any moment, complete the quiz. Then, the assignment. I am going to talk today about your assignment 2. For your assignment 2, you have a week to work. So your assignment 2 is going to be due September 23, basically a week from today. Your assignment 2 is basically applying diagrams. I am going to ask you for a use case diagram. Maybe if you consider that is needed, activity diagram or state diagram to complement the activity diagram. From this, I am pretty sure that you can move to a class diagram representing the classes that correspond to with the requirements. And finally, if you create a class diagram, well, I can ask you for the source code of something. So your assignment 3 is going to include those 3 elements. The idea is that you complete them and you submit on Canvas your diagrams, please, pictures. You can save the diagrams as images, or you can create a PDF with all the diagrams, or you can put the diagrams in a Word document, whatever. Diagrams, and your source code is going to be a program in Java. So I am asking you to submit your .java files with your program. Those are going to be the 3 things that you are going to work during the week. I am going to describe my ideas for the project. And remember, the customer gives you ideas. Your first responsibility as engineers is to transform those ideas to requirements. And well, your use case diagram is one way to express those requirements. So I am going to share my ideas with one picture, answer your questions, and then your work during the week is the requirements, the design, and the software. Good? Yeah, quiz is individual, the assignment is also individual. So far, nothing working yet. I am going to give you general ideas, but I am going to give you a picture as a reference, and I think you are going to have a very good idea of what I am asking. But remember, like in the Agile methodology, I am a customer, but I am available to clarify questions. So if something is not so clear, you can send me an email and I can quickly clarify what do you need to do. At the end, my goal and the goal of the assignment is I want to check your decision here. My ideas, to use cases, to requirements, your decisions to do the transformation, and also your decisions here in order to do the best implementation in classes and relationships to accomplish those requirements. Quotation marks regarding your decisions, because right now we review 3 things: inheritance, using, having, and with that we're solving everything. And that basically is like programming with binary. It's like you never program using zeros and ones. And right now we are doing class diagrams using that, inheritance, using, having. There are better ways, like the high-level programming languages. Well, there are better ways to create a model, a class diagram, not only using those 3 primitive relationships. And that is what we're going to cover next week. But I need you to do a project assignment 2 with those primitive relationships. And then we can check if what you did were the best decisions or not, according with the standards. But that is a different topic. So quiz due today, assignment due in a week, both individual. As the quiz only one time, you can take it half an hour. If you need to review it before, okay. If you can take the quiz immediately after I finish the lecture, go ahead. And well, this is going to be for you to work during the week. Good. Now, the previous lecture was one thing that I didn't cover, and I just asked you at the end in my final slide. It's like, well, we have this game and we create threads and classes and we do connections. And basically what I am doing, and we're going to talk about this on Friday, but Those are the key ideas of the object-oriented paradigm, and we need to review them in detail. But what we have been doing with the Pac-Man and all my questions and the review of the solutions is working with this, and working with this. By the way, several things in parallel. I need to connect those concepts with the decisions that we take in the game. However, also, the last topic is this one, persistency. And that is something that I want to review today. Not the concept itself, but the programming of that idea. For the programming of that idea, I remember asking you for the scores, store the scores in the Pac-Man. For storing the scores, is data. Is data that I want to be there and somehow available the next time that I run the game. So somehow I need that data, a set of scores, the beta scores, persistent. What I can do? Well, I am going to go into the details of the concept later, next lecture. But for the program, something that maybe you need for your assignment too is, what if I want to add some kind of menu to my program? Why the menu? Well, because if I need to ask for the table of scores, or if I need to save my game or whatever, usually what you have is a menu. In a menu, you put together all the different options that you maybe need. That is a little bit more standard and more elegant than adding JBottoms into the game, right? Or a control panel in some place. It is possible, but well, in this case, the example with the menu is going to help me to check your knowledge with the class diagram. This is just adding a menu. What happens if I ask you for adding a menu in a program, your assignment 2 or any other? Well, I am sure that by now, your knowledge of Java and the idea of the object-oriented paradigm is, I am pretty sure that whatever is here should be objects, and therefore should be classes. The only thing that I need to do is, number one, check which is the name of those classes. And number two is how to connect those classes with the classes that I already have. Classes, relationships. Well, I can tell you that the name of the classes is in the API, is a standard. Now, connected with this, it's like, okay, if I click show me the best scores, well, an easy solution is show me another window, and inside of that window, put the data. Again, I am showing you, and I am asking you in the assignment 2 to do a program that is as simple as this one. It's not like you need to put here the beautiful picture of the Pac-Man with all the nice font, the table, and so on. It's just the connection with the classes. This dialog box here, it should be a class, and somehow it should be a way to connect the fact that I click in show and I get this box here. Moreover, then this dialog have inside this number that I will assume is the best score, at least. So here, with this idea, I am connecting the class that have the frame, that probably is going to be the one having the menu, with some kind of class or object that is going to be the dialog box. And that one is showing me the content of another object that is a score, not the current one, because the current one is running, but the best of the scores that should be stored in some place. Connections. What I do to put those connections in the source code that you view before? Well, hopefully the connections and the new code is easy to figure out. Number one, I want a menu. If I want a menu and the menu is in the mainframe, hopefully you agree with me that is something that I need to change in the class game. Moreover, for the menu, In the class game, what I need, well, is a menu bar. Inside of the menu bar, I need the menu. And inside of the menu, what I need is these items, elements in the menu. So I need those objects. The API for Java give me those classes. And from those classes, I have that named menu bar, menu, menu item. And the only thing that I do is create the objects there. The menu, the name that you look at the title for the menu, and the names that you saw as the option. The only thing that I need to do is to connect them. One way to do those connections, like something is inside of something, is what you know from your data structure class. And we're going to talk more about this, but you have this add method. And as you can imagine is, well, in the bar, you add the menu and you can add as many menus as you need. In the menu, you add the item and you can add as many items as you need. And with that, you put together the graphical user elements. Pretty straightforward, standard. Now, obviously, you can be thinking like, we need the menu to do something. When I select some option or some of the items, I need something to happen. The concept that you use in Java, listeners. Listeners for the item, right? Because you want something to happen when you select a particular item. Add action listener. Do you remember what is the meaning of this here and this here? This is the current instance. What I am going to have in the current instance. Why I am giving this to the add action listener. Is the place in which you are going to put the method that you are going to be calling. If you are adding an action listener, the method that is going to be called is and that this is telling the compiler in which class, in which object that method is. And what I am telling is, don't worry, it's going to be here in this class game. Game have the menu, the graphical elements, and also it's going to have this action perform method that is going to be called when someone selects something from the menu. Well, this is all what you need to have a menu. Because we're going to call action perform. Do you remember we already are using action perform for something else? The action perform is the one that we use for the timer. The timer is calling the action perform every 100 milliseconds or something. Now we have the same method being called by the timer and by some kind of action in the menu. There is no problem. Can you figure out what is happening here? You have the timer calling this method. You have the menu calling this method. And we can put more elements, listeners calling this method. Programming, conditions. The only thing that I need to do is to figure out what is going to happen here. Well, very easy. When you call this method from a menu, you receive extra information in the parameter. In particular, what you receive is the string, the name of the command that is calling the method. And I am going to receive that value with this, the string in the menu, save, or the string in the menu, show. And if I do not receive anything, it's the timer. For the timer, that value is going to be null. There is no string. The timer do not have a name, do not send a name. So the same method, the timer, is going to repaint the maze. The menu is going to do something. Well, yeah, I put in the menu two options. One, save. You can be thinking like, oh, it could be better that the game save the score automatically. I agree with you, but well, just to have two options. I have the option save, so I am going to explicitly ask the game to save my current score, my current achievement or whatever. And also I am going to ask in the menu whether I want to review this dialog box with the numbers for the scores. Pretty straightforward, right? New elements, new actions. Now, talking about the class diagram, can you imagine how to represent this in the class diagram? Question in your quiz, this source code in the former class diagram, the class diagram that you already know. What is the representation of this? If I have a game and I have J menu bar, are they connected, yes or no? They are connected. So somehow there is a line between them. The decision is they are connected because inheritance, and I think we immediately can say no, there is no inheritance. We are working inside of a method. They are connected because composition or aggregation, and I think immediately you can say no composition, no aggregation for one reason. Why? What do you need for composition and aggregation? Exactly. The only way that you have composition aggregation is here, right? What I have is the menu, and just because I am not going to use the menu in any other method, the only place that I need the menu is in the constructor in order to show the menu, and everything else is going to be this listener that I have in the action perform. It's not global. It's not global, therefore no inheritance, cannot be composition or aggregation, cannot be a diamond, any color. I have only one option. And my last decision is, well, the arrow is going to be pointing to the game, or the arrow is going to be pointing to menu bar. Remember, the owner is pointing to the item. So in this case, game is pointing to menu bar. Now, these kind of relationships, you usually do not put them in a class diagram outside of the university. I mean, we assume that the programmer know and understand how to put a menu bar in an application, so you do not show in the diagram, in the blueprint of the program, this level of details about the class for the menu and the class for the item. Moreover, you do not show the class string every single time that you use a string in a program, right? It's a class, yeah, it's a class. And I am using globals and local. Okay, but you do not put that in the class diagram because the level of abstraction that you want to show. So anyway, I am showing you this just as an exercise. So what happened with the globals? Now that I am here, I am going to talk about the score table, this thing that I am showing in the dialog box. I put the score table like something new here. And obviously the score table is initialized here that is something new compared with my previous version. So I can think that the score table looks like it's going to be another class, like Ghost, Maze, Pac-Man, and so on. So score table is connected with game. And hopefully you agree with me, yeah, it's connected. It's in the line 13 of game. There is some kind of connection here. And again, is inheritance? Obviously not. Aggregation, composition, association. I think my decision could be between those three. Composition, aggregation, association. Well, I am talking about here a global variable, and immediately, because it's a global variable, is something more important than just association. So composition or aggregation, there is going to be a diamond involved. And the only decision that I have is whether or not it's going to be black. We have to think, right? As a designer, I need to think if I am going to make this thing mandatory or not. Right now, what I am doing is creating the diagram from the source code. So someone already created source code, or myself, my student. So in this source code, it is mandatory or not? I have this new, and the new is in the constructor. There is any way that that new didn't execute? It is mandatory, yes. And be careful, at this point, we are not talking about taking the philosophical decision of whether or not the table of scores is mandatory in the Pac-Man, because we already have the source code. In this point, what we are talking about is, well, in this source code, the programmer of this source code make mandatory the table of scores, and in this source code is mandatory. Why? Because this programmer put a new inside of a constructor, and this constructor is the default constructor, no parameters. This constructor is going to run every single time that you create an object game. And every single time that you create an object game, you're going to be creating objects, Pac-Man, Ghost, Score, Maze, and Score Table. Again, in this program in particular. So, in this program, I do not want this to be mandatory. Easy, remove this new from here, put this new in another method, in a method that could be optional, in another place. Do not put the new in the constructor, do not put the new here with the attribute, and you can delete the black diamond. It's going to be optional, because if you put the new in any other method, whether or not that method run is optional, but the constructor is mandatory. The constructor is composition. In any other place is aggregation, and the aggregation happens when you call that method. Good. Okay, so far moving. Menu bar and score table are connected. Any connection? No, they are not connected. Something that we're going to review next week is, if you think about it, you are calling a method here somehow from a method here when you select an option here. We're going to review the family of this guy, and we're going to review the family of this guy and the family of this one. And something that we're going to notice is they are connected because some class in the family, but not directly. Yeah, if you have some kind of score bar, set menu bar, and you send the menu bar, in that point, these two could be connected. And with that example, you're calling a method, so the connection could be used. Association, use and a line with an arrow, no diamonds, no inheritance. Yeah. Because the parameter. Don't worry, we're going to review all those crazy combinations. So far, with the Pac-Man, with your assignment 2, the connections are pretty straightforward. We are going to review combinations that are a little bit more high with the patterns. The idea is we're going to review those combinations and we're going to be able to use those combinations just like a template in our programs. But that is coming next week. So this looks fine. Now, the only thing that I have here is nothing new. The score table class. In the score table, I am not applying inheritance. So far, I think I do not need that. The important thing with the score table is the programmer create a solution like this. Can I have 2 scores or maybe more inside of a class? Hopefully, yes. I mean, you can have whatever you want. The important thing for this class is I have 2 methods there, save and load. If the score table is the one that is going to be stored in the disk, is the one that needs to be persistent, is the one that needs to save information, something that we usually do is if you are the one that needs to be saved, you need to save yourself. And also, if you are the one that is going to be recovered from a file, you are the one that is going to have the load. Objects, classes, should be responsible for its own safety. Like if I want to survive beyond the program, if the information that I have should be available for the next time that the user runs the program, well, I need to save my own data. And in some point, I am going to be able to recover my data and have the same values that I had before the previous time that the program was running. Load and save in the class that represent the information that you want to keep safe. Persistence. Now, something important. I am sure that you're familiar with saving text data. I am sure that you're familiar with saving binary data. You can create a file in your computer, a program can create a file, and you can store characters, letters, text, or you can save binary data, a picture, a movie, whatever that is not text. Something fancy when you are doing object-oriented programming and is very helpful is you can store objects. You can take an object and save the object in a file. You can read an object from the file. And again, something that I need to ask you is, if you haven't worked with this, there is a class file that basically represents the path for the file. This is the path, use a constant. You have file, and file is the parameter for another object. That other object is going to be a string, which is the parameter for another object that finally is going to be the object string. 3 objects, and the only one that I am going to use is the one that is outside. These have a name, and we're going to talk more about it. What we're doing there is decorating an object. The original object is the file, and we put something to enclose that file, the stream, and then we put something to enclose that one, the object stream, and that is the one that we need, the one with all these decorations, or the one that is enclosing the simple ones. The only thing is you do exactly the same for reading or for writing in the file. You need 3 objects, 1 function, 1 action. The action, write. Notice that I am using the last object, the one that is decorated, or read. Exactly the same instruction, read or write. One is going to return the object, obviously the other receive as a parameter what I want to store. And that score is an object. I am going to store the object, I am going to recover the object. And in that process, I am using 1 object that is decorating another object that is decorating another object. And with this, I can read or write whatever I want. Do you think that I can use this to store a variable that is a linked list, or a variable that is a stack, or a variable that is a queue, or a variable that is an array, uppercase A? They are objects. Yes or no? Sure, exactly. They are objects. So in this example, I am storing only 1 score. A challenge for you. In the original Pac-Man, in the example that I showed you, it's not 1, it's more. Well, if you want to store more, instead of storing an object from this class, why not an object that is a container, an object that is a data structure, and that data structure can be read or stored. The important thing, when you save an object, the file is going to have a particular header. So really you store everything, recover everything. Well, a collection in this class, right? A collection of score objects, like the collection talking about the linked list or so on, because the aggregation go with the diagram. Well, these are the scores, load, save, and well, if I want to show the scores, these show the dialog box that I mentioned before. I have several options. I can create my own dialog box. I can use the class dialog box to create a dialog box. I can inherit another class from dialog box and customize my dialog box and put icons and colors and so on. Or I can use something that is already done. G-option pane is a class, an object, an instruction. What is that? G-option pane, this one. Uppercase J, right? That means is a class. Okay, so show message dialog is a method. Static or non-static? Static method. How do you know that it's a static method? Because you are using the name of the class to call the method. What is going to happen with that method? That is the method, that is the class that is going to show the dialog box in which I put inside the value for the score. Now, I define some rules with the score, like I want to save the highest one, whatever. So I have two scores. One, I have access to the current one. Two, I have one that is the one in the file. And at the end, I want to keep the highest. You can change one of these, like the save, for more than one. So you can keep this table with the highest scores, whatever, not the goal right now. Can you tell me which could be the diagram for this one? If I cut the score table and you have score, they are two classes. Which is the connection between them? Are they connected? There is some inheritance here, or aggregation composition, or just using. I need to be careful with the line 6, right? There is a suggestion there that are global variables. So the global variables remove the idea of inheritance, obviously, and the idea of use and association. It should be more. So more black diamond or white diamond? Do we have constructors? Like I have here the constructor. I am doing the new. Because remember, the only way to be sure that one variable have a value is if I do the new. Any other case, I cannot be sure. And there is only one score in the constructor. So one of these guys, I am sure that is not composition. One of these guys is not receiving a value in the constructor. The other one is receiving a value, but the value is a parameter. And a parameter can be null. Could you agree with that? Good. Now, for the diagram, I have two. Bad idea in programming used to put two variables. The correct thing could be maybe an object of two, whatever. In the diagram, up to you, two lines with two diamonds, or the number two in the connection, whatever. You are telling the developer that you need two scores in table. So we need from this line, two lines, or use the number two, whatever option that you want to use. This thing, if you want to use all these fancy things that I mentioned before regarding saving files, there is a limitation, there is a requirement. The limitation, the requirement, is whatever object you want to save using something like this, that object should be implementing one particular interface. That interface is this one. So when you're reading a diagram like score, implements, what the diagram is telling you is, well, you're going to do this programming, but for some reason inside of the program, this score is going to be some of the scores are going to be persistent objects, which means some of these scores are going to be saved on disk and are going to be able to be recovered later. Obviously, you need to read the full diagram and, well, okay, this is what is going to be persistent, and probably this guy that is the one that have them is going to be the one doing the saving stuff. Interface for defining that an object in some point in the program is going to be or can be stored as an object. Good? So it's a new element for my diagram. Anyway, with this, our diagram becomes something more like this, more or less. Now we're connecting the score. Now we have this connection here. Again, you can have 2 lines of the number. Now I have this serializable, and everything else looks like something that we had before. Obviously, the only programming that I have shown you is the programming to create the structure that I have in the diagram. I didn't develop the Pac-Man video game. I don't care about the walls, the movement, the pointing method. Everything in the code is about, this is the structure, you have the classes, and I can ask a programmer to complete the methods that are missing in order to do the behavior of the method, the functionality, the things that are inside of the method. But the things that are inside of the method do not change the structure of the classes. So right now I have the building, and the only thing that I need is people to put things inside of each of the rooms and make the rooms look like rooms, comfortable and so on. But I did the structure, the connections. So your assignment 2, use some time. We did for the Pac-Man in the last 2 weeks, use case diagram, class diagram, and the source code. You can copy paste, write the source code from my slides. It's working. Can you apply exactly the same ideas that we applied for the Pac-Man in another project that maybe is similar to the Pac-Man, and in particular, continue with this idea of the games? May I ask you to create the use case diagram for this game, the requirements in this game, obviously the class diagram for this game, and maybe do some programming to something like this. Important elements. I have this guy here that is like the Pac-Man before, but this guy only moves left and right. You can match Pac-Man with this guy. I have these guys here that never move. They are used there, like my power dot in the Pac-Man. They never move. And I have all these guys here that are like the one ghost that I give you, but now is a lot. And best case scenario, excuse me, they are moving. And in some point, they go down 1 line, moving, go down, moving. That is the big picture of the idea. And obviously you have the timing or the score, both that are similar to the ideas that I showed you with the score in the Pac-Man. Similar elements, different actions, different number. A lot here, 3 here, 1 here. Obviously the keyboard. What I want is, can you use what you know to create these diagrams, classes, optional, the state and the activity. If you consider that you need one, maybe one of these could be good, and your source code. Questions? Yeah, I'm going to go back to answer the question in the chat. You can think about your assignment. Here, why the score is aggregation, not composition? Well, when you have a global variable, it can be aggregation or composition. Is composition when that variable have a value that is not null? All the cases. If that variable cannot be null, is composition. In this particular case, I am sure that these two are not null when I create a score table, and the answer for that is no. Why? Because number one, here, there is no news. So I am not doing the new with the declaration of the variable. Number two, if I go to the constructor, this is the constructor. Inside of the constructor, I do not have a new. So moreover, one of the variables is never mentioned. So for one of the variables, it's for sure that it's going to be null at the beginning. For the other variable is equal to some kind of parameter that I'm receiving. And again, there is nothing that assure me that that parameter cannot be null. So just because I am not doing the news, just because I do not have 100% certain that that variable is not going to be null, is a white diamond, therefore is an aggregation, not a composition. Going back to the project, the score, you can use the same thing that I use with the Pac-Man. It's just 1 point per second that you are alive. I am not asking you to program the full game. I mean, it could be very fancy if you implement the shooting and things like that, but it's not my goal. My goal is how similar is going to be this one, or how different is going to be this one compared with the one that we have been reviewing in the past 2 weeks. There are several things that are going to be almost the same, several, but there are going to be particular different.
Really should sit down and enjoy your meal with your family. Looks like you're having a conversation.
Okay. There are going to be particular differences that hopefully you can show me in your diagrams, both in the use case and the class diagram. And well, you can complete your source code with the diagram. Any question, guys? Clear? Well, anything, send me an email. This is your assignment, individual, 1 week, diagrams and programming. You submit hopefully a PDF with this and the Java source file with this to Canvas before 1 week. Good? Okay, see you Friday. Thank you.